All right, man, you ready?
Fire away.
Fire away. I'm going to roll in simple intro here, nothing super fancy. Sitting here, another episode of the podcast, Steve Nelson, Inside Magic Inc., right? Name of the company?
The company's name, yeah.
Cool. Well, I appreciate you doing this. You know, I like to start with sort of the why. And why did I want to have this conversation with you? So you did a local party at my house, right? And
Yep.
it's a great show, man. You know, truthfully, I was a little skeptical when my wife told me that she wanted to hire a magician. I said, talk to a couple, see what you want to do. It's your birthday, whatever you want to do, right? But truthfully, man, amazing. You know, I'm sure you hear this all the time, but you left a lot of us wondering, like, what the fuck? Like, how did he do this? How did these things happen? And you got people that still were asking me those next couple days, like, okay, did you guys tell this guy something? Like, is there some insight here? I said this was the first time I ever met him. So there's a lot of how this happened, why these things happen, and you know we don't need to get into all that. But honestly,
no, you can if you want.
It was more about I wanted to learn about you because I asked you one question. I said, "How long have you been doing this?" And you told me 22 years.
22 years. Yeah.
22 years, and I'm fascinated by people that spend time on things like that, like in that much time dedication. I wanted to ask you first, like, how'd you get into it, and what kept you interested in it for that amount of time?
That's always the first question.
Okay.
So started when I was like 5 years old. I always say it was Christmas Eve. I don't know if that's true or not. But that seems to be the stereotypical answer I give people because that's how I remember it.
Yeah.
I got a magic kit on Christmas Eve and I automatically opened up the box and I was just fascinated with, you know, like everything that was in there. I probably didn't know how to perform anything that was in there the correct way whatsoever. And I never really had any sort of like, you know, experience with magic prior either. So like no one in my family's an entertainer, no one's a magician, nothing. A few years after that, I had an uncle of mine who I usly go to his house on the weekends regularly. He showed me like one card trick. And the principle that's in the card trick is something that I use like still to this day. But essentially, it was just like learning the fundamentals from there. And for a long time, it was just like, oh, cool, I can do something that the adults don't know how the fuck it works.
So
you
you're
know what I mean?
tricking the adults.
Yeah, I mean,
almost.
maybe I was, maybe I wasn't. Maybe they were just really nice to me.
Okay.
But out of everyone, I would have to say my grandmother. She was definitely like the one that, like, you know, she followed me the longest. Like I always said that, like from the moment of learning magic, I was like, this is what I want to be. And of course, you know, friends, family, they're going to tell you like, oh yeah, you can be what you want to be, you know, because that's what parents do if they're good ones, I guess, right? But deep down, my parents, I don't think they really wanted me to, you know, pursue a life of being a magician because it's not the most, you know, practical thing. And magic was something that I always had a love for, right? But I also like, it was a very hardcore hobby for me for a long time. I didn't practice it professionally, not practice it, but I wasn't performing professionally until about 6 years ago or so, 5-6 years ago.
Okay.
Which is when I initially came to Orlando, like when I like started living here.
Where were you living before?
Illinois.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was in the south suburbs. It's called Oaklawn.
Okay.
I say Chicago because I guess that's the best way for people to understand. But
Closest
I didn't live
city.
in the city. I didn't live in the city though. I lived in the suburbs.
Got it. How are you liking Florida? I'm a Florida native, so I like to ask people when they come here.
Given what's going on right now, I love it.
Yeah.
Because I can't do jack shit
Yeah.
back in Illinois.
Yeah. Florida stock has risen for people. I like to say that a lot. I mean, you can see that obviously in the housing industry, but a lot of people moving here because it seems to be, at least from a state standpoint, it was nice when everything was going on that we could still continue to work. We could still continue to be outside. And, you know, I think Florida stock is raising for a lot of people.
Oh, yeah, it is. And then like the entertainment industry as a whole. I mean, for obviously what I do, you know, it's like either it's going to be Florida, you know, because we have, you know, Universal. We have that other company that I refuse to talk about. The mouse.
The mouse.
And and then we have Vegas, right?
Yeah.
Which is, you know, obviously in Las Vegas. And I think Vegas is like oversaturated with magicians. You know, we got David Copperfield, we had Lance Burr, and we have Penn and Teller, we have Chris Angel.
Yeah.
Supposedly David Blaine has a residency that's going to be coming there soon. I haven't heard too much about that. But like throughout the years and the decades and decades, like Vegas has been known for showgirls and magic shows, right? And then gambling.
Yeah.
And I don't have any interest in gambling whatsoever. So
Yeah, I've never been to Vegas. You know, I got a buddy that lives out there. He tries to get me to come all the time. I don't have the desire. I don't know. It's one of those places. I've been a lot around the U.S., but for some reason I have never made it out there yet for different maybe it's the gambling piece. Maybe I don't want to get out there and lose all my money, I suppose.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's unless you're going to go to a show. I mean, like, there's nothing else,
What else
much
do you do?
to really do. I mean, you buy cheap hookers.
Yeah, that's an option.
I went there like 10 years ago when I was like 17,
Yeah.
and it was right before I was able to get into the shows. You know what I mean? And I wasn't interested in that anyways. I saw 2 magic shows. I saw David Copperfield and I saw Penn and Teller. Penn and Teller are fantastic performers.
Yeah.
David Copperfield's a dick.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
From the show, he was a dick? Or
No. After the show.
Yeah.
There was a line of people after the show that were there having, like, signed photographs from, right? You know, like, oh, like, thanks for coming to the show, sign your photo, take a picture, And again, I was like 17 at the time. And I hopped in the line, and I didn't know this, but I guess every single person in that line paid like $120 to stand in line.
Really?
And I had no idea. So I'm there in line, and I get up to the front, and everyone is showing their ticket stubs, and I had no idea why. So I show my ticket stub, and he looks at me, and he goes, "You didn't pay to be here, did you?" And I go, "Yeah, I just paid to see your show." And he goes, No, the VIP thing. And I go, "The VIP thing." And I had the photo in my hand, right? And I was going to have him sign it, and he wouldn't sign it. And I was like, wow, that kind of sucks. So the lady behind me, as I was walking away, she said, give me your, give me the photograph. And she's like, "I'll have it signed for you, right?"
Nice.
And I'm like, "Don't have it addressed to anyone in case I want to sell it or some shit, right?"
Right.
Because
keep
like,
the resale value
exactly,
high.
right?
Yeah.
If as long as I can sell it for $120, right, that's good. But no, I still have that photo. But it's more so just like the nostalgia behind it. Like, I wanted to get to see him, because like he like paved the way for like a lot of people in the magic world.
Yeah. Is he like, people like to have these GOAT conversations, like greatest of all times. Is he up there for you, or is there? And I don't know much about the industry, right? Hence why we're talking, right? But are there some GOATs for you when it comes to magicians?
He's seen to be. I mean, he's like one of the highest paid entertainers to ever live.
If you look at it from a financial standpoint.
I mean, he's like worth, I think, $900 million or something like that. His net worth is ridiculous, right? But I'm not saying he's a bad magician. But I think that ever since the 80s came around, and ever since I think he kind of I think he's peaked out a long time ago. I'm not saying the show isn't good either, because a lot of people will fight me on that, especially a lot of like my magician friends that I have, which is a whole nother topic in itself. But as far as like, style, I think that's what it really all boils down to. Like in David Blaine's probably like obviously my favorite. And it's not so much what he does, it's how he does what he does. It's his presentation behind it. I feel like a lot of people tend to really try to sell you on the fact that what they're doing is something that it's not. And I mean, like anything else, like magic it's an art form, right? And I think that the fact that I've spent this many years to be able to do the things that I share with all these people, I don't think I should try to sell it as something that it's not. A lot of people will tell you, it's like it's psychic ability, or you're reading body language, or you're picking up on people's tells and all these other things. I mean, that's theater. You know what I mean?
But is there a part of it that is that? I mean, I guess that's more, and I want another question, like the mentalist side of it, right? Because that's, I mean, I guess if you were to describe what a mentalist is, how would you describe that, I suppose? Because that's a little bit of picking up on certain cues of people, but it's probably more psychology and behavioral. I'm just spitballing here, but is that more of the mentalist side of it?
I mean, it is. I mean, essentially, I'm not going to give anything away, but essentially, it's just it's how you package it, right? Essentially, at the end of the day, it's all magic, right? I mean, there's a secret to everything, right? It's not like I was born with some capability to do something that no one else can do.
Some of my friends think that you.
And you know what? I mean, and that's fine. I'm not going to sit there and tell them that's not true. I like to let the audience kind of like, decide for themselves.
Sure.
But I'm not going to be the guy to come out and say like, what I'm doing is real, or what I'm doing is, something unexplainable or beyond science or something like that. Because there's people out there that do that, or they come out with like some cheesy lines, like I use my 5 senses to create the illusion of a 6th sense. And it's like, I like to think that my audience is not that dumb,
right?
I know there's things that like science can't explain, and like psychology does play a part in it, right? Because I mean, I need to know how to read my audience, right? I mean, you've seen my show.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I think you can probably agree. You've seen magicians, I'm sure, in the past
Yep.
that probably don't talk the way I talk.
No. Yeah.
And also a lot of times it's just more so just, it's the content of my performance. Like, I do a lot of things that other people do, but it's just like my personal take on it.
Yeah, and that's back to the artist piece, right?
Yeah.
It's to the individual. And when people started telling me, like, thinking you got these special powers, I'm like, I don't believe in that, but I get why some people might go down that road. But you're right, you got some people that like Miss Cleo, I can't think of one off the head. That
I mean, there was
That's
Sylvia
what they
Brown. I
want.
think she was like one of those like TV psychics.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of performers. There's people that are self-proclaimed, mentalists, magicians, etc., that come out and try to sell you this like hard narrative that there's something more than what they are. I always say that I'm no more of a mentalist or a psychic, I guess you could say, than Johnny Depp is a pirate. Even though I think Johnny Depp thinks he's a fucking pirate.
I think that pirate shit messed him up.
Dude,
listen to him talk.
Where's
now.
he originally from again?
I don't know.
He shouldn't talk like that. That's all I know.
Yeah, something's off there. I think when you become a celebrity really early in your life, I think it's hard to be a normal person. You know? Just judging by childhood celebrities that you see that grow up seeming like they have some struggles. But hearing him talk on all this recent, him and his, whatever that lady is, well, I don't know if it's his wife. They were married, I think. But yeah, he's out there, man. He's out there.
Oh, yeah. So is she, though. I mean, no doubt about it.
Yeah.
I think she just, I mean, they both, they're both shit shows.
Yeah. But what do you think it is? I mean, she's probably just really good in bed, man. But even
she has to be.
She has to be, right?
Dude, if you can shit in a man's bed and then still stick around.
Yes. Yeah. I don't know. I'd have to think about that one if that ever came right. To be. But that must be what it is.
I feel awful though for like everyone. I mean, because essentially what she's trying to say is that she's been abused.
Right.
And I think that this is a whole nother topic.
Yeah.
I'm sure this whole conversation is going to like go all over the place, but
kind of the point.
It's like it seems to have no structure, and that's good. Yeah. But at the same time, I feel like a lot of women that like unfortunately that have been through situations like such as abuse. Yeah. Right. It kind of like unfortunately it dampens everyone else's actual true stories. You know what I mean? And it makes like a mockery of anyone, and it makes it harder and harder for the rest of the public to like actually try to believe what other people are saying.
Interesting. Yeah, because you have this massive story that's getting blown up all over the place, and it makes it hard for people
meanwhile
that have
there's thousands of people out there that might actually be getting their ass beat,
right.
And we don't know about it. So.
Right. Interesting. Mm-hmm. Where did the honest liar come from? Is that something you go by, or I thought I read that somewhere? Yeah. Where did that come from?
It's like an oxymoron kind of a thing.
Okay.
So there was a magician back in the day. He only passed away probably, I think, 3, maybe 4 years ago at most. His name was Ricky J, and he was a card mechanic. Like essentially, he was really great with a deck of cards. And he put out this live show a long time ago called 52 Assistants, and it was like a whole hour to an hour and a half of strictly card magic, and it was incredible because he used a deck of playing cards and he entertained an audience of like 50 to 100 people like every night for years on end. And one of his like taglines was essentially the honest liar. But it wasn't what he marketed himself to be. But at the same time, I feel like the reason why I went with that is because magicians essentially, I mean, we lie.
Yeah.
And we tell you that we're going to lie to you, and then we still somehow fool you.
Yeah, that's
which is cool about it,
That's the cool part about the performance is like, coming into it, I knew obviously it's not real, right? And I knew that there was going to be some things that I wasn't sure how to explain, and it was a lot of that. What I liked about it too was, you're almost a comedian as well. I thought you had a lot of like interesting points of view on things, and you had some lines on stuff. I was like, man, this guy could be a comedian as well. You don't think that?
None of that shit is stock.
Really?
I just speak my mind. Yeah.
So like improv style almost.
Like I guess. Yeah. But I don't even think it's even like. I wouldn't even call it improv though, because I know friends that are trained in theater, that are performers, and I know people that are just magicians like I am. Yeah. And just to get more uncomfortable, to get more comfortable in front of like an audience, they've actually have taken classes at the improv and things of that sort. And I think that definitely holds merit. I think it definitely helps some people.
Sure.
but it's like anything else. I mean, like the magic was something that I had to really work at. You know, I mean, I had to really like hone in on that. I really had to like, it's brute force, right? Whether it be like a memorization act or whether it be, strict sleight of hand, but like the actual presentation of my delivery has always kind of come naturally. But I think that's because I never looked to magicians for that aspect. Because to be honest, I don't really know too many performers that I admire them for their delivery. I just admire them for their actual, contributions, like, like the effects, things of that sort. You pick up a book and you go like, oh, look at this move. And it's like, well, so-and-so created that move. I have friends that are literally like a walking thesaurus of magic, and they can tell me exactly who created this effect, when they created that effect. And it's too much, you know what I mean? Like, I'm just going to say it's not mine, I mean, I have my own take on everything, but I think I look to comedians more for things like that,
Really?
But the style of comedy, I've gotten told so many times, like, Steve, you got to do clean comedy. I'm like, first off, clean comedy sucks. I mean, in my opinion, I think it sucks. And also, I don't do children's parties.
Right.
I've done very few children's parties. I've done like 2, I think. And the last one wasn't that long ago, and someone broke one of my props, and I was pissed. And it was like $300-something props. So I was like, damn, it kind of sucks. But with that being said, I look, like George Carlin, like I love his style, I used to really love him as a person. Now I'm kind of wishy-washy, but I like Dave Chappelle's like approach on comedy. I think it's great. Bill Burr is one of my favorites.
Oh man, I love
by
Bill
far.
Burr.
Because I feel like even though he's heavily scripted and he has a heavy outline, like that man just sounds like he's ranting. And it kills me. And it's a lot to do with his delivery. And a lot of people can't get away with saying the shit he says because, they're not Bill Burr. And
he seems to have a level of freedom with what he says that not everybody else has. And you don't know where that comes from. I just think he's being comfortable and he's been consistent, you know, into what he's saying for so long. But some of his rants, man, it's just like,
oh, it kills me.
Yeah, his rant muscle is amazing to be able to sit down and just kind of go off on some of those things.
Which you can tell he's passionate about what he's talking about.
Totally.
He's not just saying like, one day I was here. And it's not like a terrible comedy sketch that's alludes to this like really crappy ending, I mean, that's not too funny. Like he brings it home like every time. I haven't seen one weak special from him ever.
Yeah, definitely not. And even just his little stuff that he puts out or his little appearances on like talk shows, man.
God,
he's a savage.
He don't give a shit.
Exactly.
He don't give a shit.
Seems like a good way to live life if you can go around saying what you actually want to say and not be fearful of repercussion.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people, like especially like in entertainment, right? I mean, on the grand scale, I'm here and everyone else is here, right? And even if I do get to here, I'm always going to see myself as being down here, right? I mean, I can appreciate and recognize like how far I've come, right? But at the same time, I realize that even if I'm at, let's say, one day I'm at the top, whatever the hell the top is, right? I still want to constantly, try to work my way up the ladder further and further and further because I feel like way too many people get like content with like who they are, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with being proud of like who you are, what you've become, what you've contributed to the world, this and that. But I think it's more so, like you said, like he's being himself.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of performers think that they need to develop a character, right? And that works for some people. Like there's a magician out there, he's in Vegas now. He got famous off America's Got Talent. His name is Piff the Magic Dragon. And he's a full-grown man who dresses like a fucking dragon, right? And that shit don't work for anybody else but him. And he's got like a dog named Mr. Piffles or some shit like that, right?
But people are into it.
Yeah, and I'll be honest with you, he does it really well, and I could never pull that shit off, right? There's another magician in Vegas. His name is Matt King. He's like one of the world's greatest. He is the world's greatest comedy magician ever.
There's a comedy magician category.
Yeah. There's like the amazing Jonathan, R.I.P. He just died a few months ago, right? Definitely more of a comedian than a magician, though. And then Matt King is one of those people that he's funny as hell. If you saw him on the street and if you looked the way he looked on stage, you'd probably like want to kick his ass, right? But like you watch him and it's like this man has been doing this forever and he kicks ass at what he does. And I strive to be as good as him, but I don't strive to be anything like him in a sense of, his style or anything of that sort.
Yeah.
Because I feel like a lot of people, like I said, they try to become a character. And the more they watch others, that's another reason why I'm not friends with too many magicians, and I don't try not to go watch too many magic shows, is because I don't want to get, lost in, what other people are doing. I like to like bounce ideas off people and present for other performers. But the way we view what we watch, what we do, I should say, is completely different than the way you would watch what I do. You know what I mean? It's kind of like a musician, right? The way a musician listens to music is not the same way someone that has no idea about a musical instrument that they would listen to, right? They're listening for the technicality, right? And same thing with a magician. Like, we're paying attention to the presentation, the moves. Did you flash this? Did I see you do this move here? And they're not paying attention to the presentation. And there are some guys out there that are so damn good at what they do, but you would never know because they're what you would call like move monkeys, right? Like they can slay with a deck of cards or coins, whatever the case may be. There's things called manipulation acts, which is like a whole nother separate category, which is essentially, like billiard ball magic. There's playing cards, right? There's coins, there's silks, there's all these things. There's
silks.
Yeah.
Like pieces of silk? Like,
yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there's dove manipulation, dove acts, like Lance Burn was big for that, light the candle, candle vanishes, we got a bird, all that stuff. There's different categories. There's subcategories of magic that I can admire and that I like, but I would never want to perform them.
This is why I like having these kind of conversations, because it shows you that there's levels to shit that you don't even know anything about, So what Back to Chappelle for a second, because that one's sticking in my mind. What's your issue with Dave Chappelle? I follow comedy a little bit. I had a comedian on here a couple times.
Nothing with his
but
comedy.
Personally, you got
Oh man. Okay, you said nothing's off. So when the whole BLM thing happened, when the whole Black Lives Matter thing happened, he came out and he basically essentially he used his platform, right? And again, I mean, like, he can do whatever the hell he wants, right? So I respect what he does. That's fine. But I believe no matter what category of profession you're in, right? If you're a banker, if you're a, let's say if you're a butcher, right? I'm a magician, right? I have a hard time when people that are performers or professionals in any area, come out and they try to speak on something that they really don't. It's like, be a fucking comedian. And it's like, I mean, people think that when people are celebrities, like they have like a voice of God or some shit like that, and they just take anything they say as like being like inspirational. Like Kim Kardashian could come out and say something. It's like, not to be a dick, but like, I mean, like, you really gonna take advice,
Yeah, and I think that, I think people idolize celebrities for the wrong reasons, right? And I think sort of the case in point here is this Will Smith scenario where people are starting to realize that, these people don't have it all together, not even in the slightest. And in some cases, the people that are idolizing them, I hope that they realize that who they're idolizing or putting their focus in is not maybe the best place or the healthiest form.
Exactly.
But I think Chappelle, and I remember him talking about that he was getting pressure. I don't remember which interview it was, that he was getting pressure to do this. So I think he felt some sort of, not to defend the guy, I don't know the guy, but I think when you're in certain circles, especially as an African American, he was probably getting enormous amounts of pressure to at least take a stand, do something. But I agree with you. I think people should try to stay in their lane as best as possible. Makes a little sense to me.
It's more what angers me about the whole thing. Again, I mean, like in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't fucking matter to me at all. Because like I like Chappelle as a comedian, right? And that's all that matters, and that's all that matters to him. Right. Because if I were to go buy a ticket to his special, he doesn't care if I like him. He cares if I pay to go see him. Yeah. Right. But the whole thing is his earlier career. I mean, he got very famous off of like jabbing at white people, and I never had a problem with that. That was funny as hell. He did a whole bit about, like cops like sprinkling crack on people and shit. And he would do this whole thing about, he would do white police officer voices and all that shit. Right. And, he just did something like about like a year ago in one of his specials that got like tanked on Rotten Tomatoes, I think. But like he did this whole thing on the trans community. Yep. And it's like, listen, like all of a sudden now there's this drastic like leap in censorship like everywhere. Yeah. And I think that honestly, I mean, like, again, I'm not for inciting violence. I'm not in for people like, jabbing at people to like, hurt them intentionally or anything. But I mean, like, there's some fucked up shit out there, Totally. And I don't think that I need to necessarily, agree with everything that everyone thinks is right. You know what I mean? Yeah. I think that you're entitled to your opinion. I'm entitled to mine. Yeah. And it's just, it's like religion. Like, I mean, like people can believe what they want to believe, but the moment you try to force your beliefs on me is the moment that, I mean, to be quite honest, kiss it goodbye for me ever. I'm never going to try to even give you the time of day if you're going to do that. Yeah. So it's
I'm with you there. But if you want to have a conversation and maybe get me to see a different perspective, then that's one thing. Versus to your point about religion, and part of certain religions is that you are supposed to go out and convert people into thinking the same way. But I'm with you, man. The second somebody tries to think that they need to change the way I think or the way I think is wrong, like, kind of who the hell are you to be able to decide that? But there is a growing, fear or growing, where people want to be able to have that kind of impact on others. And that's got to hurt in the entertainment industry. Do you ever worry about things that you say out there?
I worry the same way like a lot of comedians worry. Yeah. Like a lot of comedians now, they'll go to like a college, right? Which is something that I've actually thought about doing, is like going on the college thread, and trying to go around different colleges, you know what I mean? And I know how most colleges are, not all of them, but depending on where you're at. And I know damn good and well I'm going to say something that's going to upset somebody, and I'm not
use the wrong pronoun or something.
Oh, I'm sure. Oh God, yeah. Fuck's sake. It's like, I mean, like, you go to Disney now, and it's like, it's dreamers of all ages. I just watched this whole thing the other day. It was on the news, like a local newscast, right? Because they film it right outside the resort, and there was like 30 or 40 employees that were outside just like bitching about it and saying they're walking away because they're like, you know what, like Disney was meant. And it was built as like an escape for families and friends to like go and escape reality, and have a good time. And now like all the employees are taught not to offend people because if they call them the wrong thing, and it's just like there's so much shit that's just unnecessary. Yeah. And it's like my whole view is if you don't like it, don't fucking go. Yeah. That's the same thing with comedy or anything. I mean, like I'm not going to pay to go somewhere or go see someone, say something or do something if I don't like them, just to bitch about it.
Yeah, but the arrogance of trying to get somebody canceled, who, like,
unless they're like physically causing harm to somebody,
of course.
I mean, like, we're not like, we're not boycotting ISIS here. We're like, we're trying to say that, like princes and princesses like aren't allowed to be a thing anymore or some shit. And it's just like, dude. Yeah.
The Disney thing is a weird one. I know we kind of, getting on that subject, but I'm not too up on it, but I got some people that have some real strong opinions on it. But I've thought of Disney, especially their movies. I have a young daughter that it's like all of their movies are sort of, perceived as somebody's going to come save you if you're a female, it kind of teaches different things. And I've thought that throughout my life, meeting different women and stuff. That's just like, Disney has a lot of power over young people. So I get people's concern, but ultimately I think it comes back to the parents as far as what they should be teaching their kids and not relying on Disney or your teachers or some of these things that people are fearful of.
I mean, I'm definitely not. I mean, I don't have any kids. You know what I mean? And I really don't intend to have any, but if that day ever comes, I mean, now with the way the world is now, dude, I'd be scared to death. And also I don't even know if I'd ever be able to even afford it at this point, There's a couple more reasons, but I mean, aside from that, I mean, like, I think that it's so fucked up that like they want to essentially remove the parents from the kid's life in an extent where it's like some teachers have literally been caught saying, like, don't tell your mom or dad like what we've been talking about, and that to me is absolutely ludicrous. Yeah. Like parents that want to know the curriculum and all that stuff. I never say that word correctly. Yeah.
I almost messed it up too. I know what you mean.
Say it.
Curriculum.
That's correct.
Is that it?
That's correct. Good. Now spell it. No, okay.
No, good luck with that.
No. But yeah, like they don't want the parents to even know what the kid's learning about in school, and that's fucking disturbing, Yeah. And it's like, I'm not saying that the parents should, have to like sit in the back of the classroom and watch every single thing, because that's not possible. Like, especially like we saw that with the whole like homeschooling thing, right? I mean, like, some parents have decided to make that a permanent thing because they're scared about sending their kids off and someone essentially just like taking their kids on as their own. Yeah. And there's so many problems with that.
I do think to be a teacher would be a difficult job. They signed up for it. I get it. They're not getting paid very much money. They have a pretty decent schedule, summers off, spring breaks, and things like that. But you have different level of kids, different level of parents. I just think there's an age range where people are so influential that there should be some sort of regulation or control, because there was this one in DC that caught my eye where it was a parent talking at some open conference or something. And she was complaining about the third graders' curriculum of starting to teach them about, gender transitions and, all of these different things that people are going through now and whatever people want to do. But I don't think that should be taught to children at an influential age. And that's sort of my approach on it.
I mean, it's the same thing with, it's like when I was really, really little. I mean, I'm not going to speak for myself because I can't remember all the details, right? But I have a sister, right? And when she was super, super, super young, for some weird reason, she was really into Cold Case Files with Bill Curtis. Do you know what show that is?
That's about murders that they can't solve.
Yeah. She was really into
ones?
that. Yeah.
Okay.
I also thought for the longest she was going to become a doctor of some sort, and that's what she was going to definitely go into, like crime scene something, because she was intrigued by that, right? But okay, let's just take the genre of like horror, right? I don't think any parent that's rationally thinking would sit there and go like, oh yeah, I'm going to let my 5-year-old like watch like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, right? Because and if they do, yes, that's up to them. But I mean, there comes the age where that's appropriate, I think, when it's not,
Right.
I mean, I'm not going to tell anyone how to raise anyone, but at the end of the day, I think that there's definitely, everyone always say, oh, you can't say what's right and what's wrong, but you know what, I'm sorry, but there is a right and a wrong to some things.
Yeah, I think it is subjective.
Yeah.
Depends on the individual, but you're right. There are some pretty clear, cut and dry what's right
it's
and
like,
what's
let's
wrong.
take a look and see, like, subject A, they were raised this way. Subject B, they were raised this way. Let's weigh these two things out, and which one panned out better.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that every kid that watches scary movies or plays, I played Grand Theft Auto when I was young, right? And I never even played that shit, right? I just used to use cheat codes and stuff and, blow shit up and shoot people. But
You've never stolen a car?
No, not in real life either, right? No, I used to drop tanks from the sky and shoot hookers in the game, but I mean, I never, farthest from that,
Sure. Yeah.
I mean, I got all of it out of my system,
Yeah.
right?
I'm worried about the next level of video games, though. Those were the start, and now with all the virtual reality.
Oh yeah,
and
that shit's scary as hell. It's real.
Have you seen these omnidirectional treadmills? Have you heard of these?
No, what's
So
that?
basically, like you wear a VR headset, and then
Okay.
you hook up to a treadmill that you can stand on, and then you can run, you can crouch, and you're in a controlled circle.
So you can play like Call of Duty, but like run the field and
Yes,
shit. Like,
and you're holding like an actual
oh my god,
weapon. Yeah, they're in my son's football coach just opened up a place called Launch over in Orlando, and right when you walk in, he's got 6 of them. So eventually they're going to be in everyone's homes, and people will never leave their homes. But that shit scares the crap out of me, man, about like how it's going to be for kids continuing on in the future.
You said something about people never leaving their homes,
Yeah.
right? Well, okay, so we can take that and we can talk about a bunch of things when it comes to never leaving your home, right? But I feel like another thing that kind of scares me with the entertainment industry, right, is like everything, like when it comes to technology, because we're talking about artificial intelligence and virtual reality and things like that, everything is like right here. You know what I mean? And the problem with that is your attention span is like non-existent almost. And also, it sucks for someone like me sometimes when I try to show someone something, because if you scroll through TikTok, which I have a TikTok, but I never use the damn thing, Instagram, things of that sort, you get to see 20, 30-second clips of people doing things. And whether it's good or bad, people just seem to think that they've seen it all now. And that's also a reason why I don't really like to post on social media too much.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll post about an event that I'm doing, or I'll post a small highlight. Right. Actually, I posted like something from the show that I did at your guys' place, right?
Nice.
Which was cool, and that's a very rare thing. I think I literally captioned, this is a very, very rare thing that I'll do, but I posted a small segment.
Yeah.
And the reason why I do that is because I want people to have a reason to come watch me do what I do.
Yeah. I get it from, we're doing filming for social media technically now, YouTube and Spotify, but I think the internet really changed that game as far as people knowing what is out there. It started to show people like all kinds of different things. And if you look at where the internet goes, and this is sort of my problem with where artificial intelligence is, is it knows so much of like the negative of people, as much as it knows the positive, and if that's its perception of people, and not to go all, I don't think, there's going to be robots someday that take over, but I don't not know that that's going to happen.
Exactly.
Like I hope that doesn't happen. And, but you don't not know. And then if you ever listen to Elon, he scares the shit out of me. If a guy like that, who's so, it's so invested in that technology, for him to be like, there should really be some regulation. That was like 5 years ago when he was talking about that. And you hear him talking to like government people that, like, what's this guy talking about? I just want to be on my Snapchat.
Exactly. Now he owns Twitter, though, so keep your mouth shut, right?
Yeah, but that's an interesting one, right? If you think, if he's, and again, you never know what to believe, but if you hear what he says about it, as far as why, the idea of protecting free speech is an interesting one, because that's what makes America great, in my opinion. If you don't like it, you can go other places.
Exactly.
But you can look to other places where they don't have that. And me personally, I wouldn't want to live that way. So you can. It's scary to think about, but...
And it's also interesting, though, because, like, the whole free speech thing, a lot of people now, ever since, like, he bought up Twitter, everyone actually is, like, worried about freedom of speech. And that's really interesting to me. It's like they almost don't want more free speech. And I think it's because a lot of those people that were, like, benefiting from whoever the hell was running Twitter at the time, I don't know who it is, right? But, I mean, it's like they know for a fact that there's lots of shit on them, I'm sure, that they don't want to get out.
Right.
It's like, like a political party wants to, run an ad, I guess, right? And they can, like, lower their ad expenditure, and you wouldn't even fucking know.
I think it's kind of what you said earlier. If people don't want to look at it, they shouldn't have to look at it, right? If they don't want to go to that platform. But I think if people or an artificial intelligence can decide who should and shouldn't be able to have a voice, I don't think we should say that either. Now, if it's inflicting violence or, kind of back to what we were talking about, if it's causing that, then sure. But I don't think they should just cancel people from a tweet that they made when they were like, 10 years ago, 12 years ago.
Which is insane because people are always changing. I 100%. Mean, like, I'm not the same person I was 10 years ago. I'm not the same person I was 5 years ago.
Definitely. Yeah. I'm the more I age, the more I realize that to be true. Like each 5 years, each decade.
And I'm not saying I'm really drastically smarter or anything, but I mean, like, from all aspects. I mean, of course, I think the biggest thing, the reason why we change so much is because if we choose to interact with more people, that's why human interaction is so important, not just online, face-to-face communication. Yeah. I mean, podcasts are great, right? But the only two people that are actually benefiting from it, truthfully, I believe, are the people that are actually sitting down at the table. I mean, like, someone may be able to watch this from the outside looking in and go, wow, that's interesting, right? But I mean, like, we got two guys named Steve at the table, right? And essentially, we're able to somehow, interact with one another, right? But we might not agree on absolutely everything, and that's fine, right? But it's called agree to disagree.
Right.
And people are literally refuse to do that now.
Yeah.
Not everyone, but a lot of people refuse to do so. And it makes it really, really difficult to want to start a conversation with somebody because you're like, did this person just hate me because what I stand for or what they think I stand for? And they just like write people off, constantly. And it's just like, listen, there's plenty of people that I know that I don't agree with on a political level, a social, all kinds of things, right? But I'll still sit down and have a conversation with them.
Right.
But I don't go into a conversation going, you're wrong and I'm right. Because the moment I do that, I've lost the conversation completely.
It's no longer a conversation at that point.
No, I have blinders on, And that's no way to be, I don't think, because otherwise, how the fuck are we ever going to learn anything?
Exactly. And honestly, that's my whole reason for doing this podcast is because there are things I want to learn, and I've been thinking about doing this for years. So eventually I had to just break down and start doing it because you're never going to get good at anything if you don't actually attempt. But what I'm learning is that through talking to different kinds of people is we're not all that different. I think there's this sort of general push to try to talk about all this division amongst people, but I don't know if that's necessarily real. I think people get caught up in like maybe an echo chamber because of all their social media likes that they like, that they're getting pushed all specific things, and that changes their perspective on stuff. But I think we all just want the best life we can. If you got a family, best life for your family, you got to make a little bit of money. I think people just want to have some fun while they're here too. I kind of subscribe to the fact that, you don't know how long this ride's going to last.
Exactly.
And I hope there's something after, but who the fuck knows?
Yeah, you don't know how much of a future you actually have.
For sure.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, like you could be perfectly healthy. You can walk out this door, someone could hit you with their car, or you could die of a heart attack. Who the fuck knows?
You don't.
Right?
Yeah.
But that's also that's another topic we could touch on, I guess, too. Yeah. But how do I transition to this? Like,
transitions are out the window.
Yeah. Well, I know they're quite the commodity now. No. Oh, yes, I am a male. But
we didn't establish our pronouns in the beginning.
He,
okay.
Him.
He, him.
Yes.
I'm a furry. I have a litter box in the other room. Oh my God,
dude. I fucking shit you not. You know where Altamont Springs is at?
Yes.
Okay. So me and my girlfriend, we're walking in Crane's Roost, right? Connected to Altamont Springs. Yeah. And I used to work actually for the gym next door to it. It's called UFit Health Clubs.
Okay.
And I would walk there quite frequently when I did like promotional work for them. I used to walk around the pier and stuff. But long story short, we're down there. We're taking a walk around like, the area. And there is literally a giant meetup of furries. And dude, that shit scared the hell out of me.
Oh my God.
I was like, dude, there's not even a fucking like Comic-Con here. There's no meet. This is literally just like a fucking, like, there was like at least 30 or 40 of them, just like full grown adults dressed in like giant fox costumes. And I'm not going to sit here and again, I'm not going to tell you how to raise your kids, but there was a lot of parents like walking around literally letting these kids go up and take pictures with these people like they were at fucking Disney World.
Yeah.
And I was like, dude, you have no idea who the fuck is in that.
Yeah.
I have a couple of videos on my phone, actually. It's really cool. But, yeah.
I joke about the furry thing, but, that's interesting that there's a whole community of furries up in the Altamont Springs area. Did not know that.
No, neither. And I actually jumped on Google the moment I saw that, and I typed in, like, furry convention, furry whatever the hell. Nothing.
Yeah. Random day of the week furry party.
These are just a bunch of people that are obviously, and I ain't going to say, I don't know.
Yeah. And again,
they're their own thing.
They're their own thing. And I think people should be able to express themselves in whatever way they want to, right?
Yeah.
I think we'll say that a few caveats here.
Yeah.
I think where I first heard about furries was in the corporate world. It was a company. Yeah. It was a company that was getting sued by an individual that claimed to his HR department that he's not getting reasonable accommodation.
Okay.
And the accommodation was he needed a litter box in the bathroom, and the company wouldn't do it. And I think he got paid out. That company had to pay him out for not reasonably accommodating him for that specific situation.
Oh, okay.
Now that's where I draw the line. Like, a company is going to have to accommodate one individual for this purpose,
Well, that's the same thing as the cancel culture thing. I mean, it's like, if one subgroup of people aren't, agreeing with this idea, we need to make it impossible for anyone else to enjoy it. And I'm just not for that.
No.
If someone, let's just say someone who is, handicapped, comes in and they want to work in an office space.
Right.
And they're like, hey, do you guys mind maybe putting like a rail in this bathroom?
Right.
There's nothing wrong with that.
No.
Right. But if someone that has zero issues with them comes in and says, I want you to fucking paint the toilet seat or the toilet lid a certain color and you won't do it, I'm going to fucking leave. It's like, that's some asinine shit. Right. But like, we have to what the hell is the word for it? We have to assess the situation here and go like, is this person just asking me to do this because they know that they can just get away with it?
Right.
Or they actually have a legitimate reason why they're asking me this?
And I think that's where the problem comes in, is people are taking everything that's thrown at them as, okay, this is a legitimate reason.
This is
I
serious.
have to pay attention to it. But in the corporate space, they are pushing that heavily because they have to.
Litter boxes and bathrooms?
Not that specifically, but being open to everything. And I'm all for, diversity, inclusion. I don't think it should be all white people sitting on boards of directors.
No.
I'm not saying that. But there's got to come to a point, and I get a lot of shit. I'll probably get shit for saying this, where it's like, just because I'm a white male, like, that's supposed to be that I am, I have this higher power or this pre-described, and I don't necessarily think that that's fair.
No.
And, I get it. It's the privilege chart. I saw in a meeting once, it was the privilege chart. And the fact that I was an athletic, young, white male put me on this higher chart than everybody else. And I'm like, well, this is fucked up. Like, I don't think this
for
way.
being who I am.
I was born this way. Exactly. What the hell do you want from me?
Exactly. It's almost like, we're like you said, like, we're literally demonized for being the person we're born. It's like, to my knowledge, that's the definition of what racism is.
Absolutely. Yeah. But
it's reversed.
Yes.
And I don't know, like when it comes to like, workspaces, I used to work at Publix for a really short amount of time. That's where my mom works now. Right. But whether it's Publix or any place, it doesn't really matter. Right. I feel like whoever is most qualified and best to do the job should get the fucking job.
Bingo.
I don't care if they're Asian, if they're Mexican, if they're, white, if they're black, German, whatever the hell they are. I don't care. If they're good at what they do,
yes,
let them be in that position.
Yeah.
Now, if you just start hiring people for the sake of diversity, there's a problem there, because then you wonder why your business is fucking failing.
Right.
And it's like, I don't, I work for myself, right? So I'm not going to sit here and say, this is how you run a business, because I don't know anything about that. I know how to run myself, and that's it. But at the same time, you wouldn't base your group of friends off of just strictly their physical characteristics.
No.
You have to sit down, you got to get to know somebody.
Unless you're
you
a psychopath.
Yeah, exactly. And you don't give a shit. But it's like, you have to sit there and go like, well, one, do these person's beliefs somewhat align with my beliefs?
Right.
Or is this person like morally, acceptable to me?
Yeah.
They don't need to do everything the way I do or think the way I think. But at the same time, it's like, I'm not going to just befriend this person because they look like me.
Yeah.
And it's like, but that's like what people think they should be doing. And I think that that's the most ass backwards way of thinking.
Yeah, I would agree. And I'm like you said, I think you should. I like having people from different walks of life in my circle.
Cool.
I think you learn a lot, and if they're open to hear my perspective, I'll be open to hear them.
Yeah.
Don't necessarily try to change the way I think about things, because like you said earlier, that's going to change the tune of our friendship. But I just think you should just try to be a good person. I think that old rule of treat people like you want to be treated makes sense. There's certain aspects of religion that I agree with, all of the religions, but there's obviously certain aspects that I think are just complete horseshit that are meant to control people,
It's it can be culty.
But so is sports. It just seems like there's this natural, for some people, it seems built into them that they need to be a part of something like that. Like it's, I don't know if that's in our genetics or where that comes from, but you see it in a lot of different aspects.
It's like belonging. Like you have to be a part of something. It's like kids that grow up and they're in a gang, maybe they have a decent upbringing, maybe they don't, but they feel like they don't get around with the rest of society. And then all of a sudden they start falling into, like a gang, and then their life goes off track and now they're fucked.
Yeah.
So, but it's the same thing as, being in a gang is not the same thing as going to church, obviously, but
there's some similarities.
There is, right? Like I said, the cult aspect of it can get a little bit disturbing, but I think that anyone that goes to church with the idea of, if I go to church, that makes me a good person, I think that actually makes you the exact opposite,
right?
Because you're doing that for the vanity of it. You're going there and saying, look at me, I'm a good person because I go to church.
Yeah.
And it's like, if your life doesn't reflect that, if your actions don't actually say that, one, you're a good person, because that's my belief too. Don't lie, don't cheat, don't steal.
Yeah.
Make an honest living, help others out when you can, share your ideas, listen to others' ideas, and work together. I think that, again, I'm not gonna sit there and say there is or isn't a higher power, because I do believe that there's some sort of higher power, right? But if there is one, I think it would be a safe bet to say that him, her, he, she, whatever the hell they did to find themselves, right? They probably would want me to do exactly what I just said, which is live an honest life, be good to others, and treat others the way I would want to be treated.
Definitely.
And if I look back on life, and if there is such thing as an afterlife, I think I have a hell of a lot better shot getting to a better place after this if I do just that, versus I went to church every Sunday.
Yeah, but I think to your point, people use that as
a crutch
or a way to wash their hands of who they actually are, what they're actually doing.
It's almost like someone who constantly fucks up and always apologizes.
Yeah.
It's like, I always tell people all the time, like, I have friends, well, they're not friends anymore, right? But I've had people that I've been acquaintances with, right, that have made the same mistakes over and over again. No one's fucking perfect, but they just say, I'm sorry. And I always have said to them, I'm like, don't say you're sorry, just don't fucking do it. Because
you'd be a great dad. That's what you got to say to kids all the time. Like you can't keep saying sorry for the same shit. It doesn't work like that.
But you know what though? I would also expect someone to say that to me as well. And I think that's where my whole my idea of comedy comes into play too. Yeah. It's like being blunt, I think, is not always a bad thing. Because I feel like no matter how long you think about what you're going to say, I think the longer you process what it is you want to communicate to someone or a group of people, the greater the chances are that what you want to say is going to get diluted.
Interesting, yeah, because you'll start to add different things.
Yeah, you start to make it something that it may very well not be.
Yeah, blunt and transparent seems to be a pretty good way to go about having conversations with people if you're trying to get something accomplished. Actually say what it is that you want versus anticipating that this person is going to get it just based off of,
Exactly. I mean, same thing with, if you want to get to know somebody, you know what I mean? Like the first time I meet somebody, the first time I met your wife and the first time I met you and everyone else at your party, I'm sure you had friends and you had family there, everything. I don't know who everyone was, right? Yeah. But like the way I spoke to you guys is no different than the way I speak to someone that I've known for 5 or 6 years. Because what I want it to be, no matter if I'm performing or if I'm just having a conversation, what you see is what you get. Yeah. I'm not going to be like this super professional. I mean, I am professional, but I'm not going to be this super well-kept guy on stage and not be this super well-kept, well-presentable guy off stage. Yeah. And that's why I'm really into the whole, also like the health and fitness aspect of things too. Yeah. Because I've noticed like anyone that takes care of themselves, anyone that presents themselves on a regular basis, like, that obviously looks like that they're physically well-kept. Right. Not just, mentally well-kept, but also physically well-kept is, you earn respect by doing that. Yeah. Whether someone 100%, agrees or aligns with your beliefs, they go, this person knows what they stand for. Right. Which is important.
Absolutely. Because I think a lot of people don't, or they have maybe something they stand for that was shared with them in another way, right? But I think you're touching a lot of points that speak to me, and that health and fitness side, because when you see somebody that clearly puts the work in and is dedicated to something, they're doing it for, there's all kinds of reasons you can be doing it. Yeah. But it takes a certain level of discipline to be healthy. And I think, I joke about this, that if Pfizer could come up with a pill that made you feel the way you feel after exercising consistently, they would make more money than the vaccine.
Yeah, it's that dopamine rush. It's the high.
100%. Yeah. Runner's high is a common thing that's been around for a long time. But what kind of fitness do you like to do, man? This, obviously we talk a lot about things, but fitness is one that comes up on here a lot. So actually,
before even, like I said, magic was always a hobby. Now it's a profession.
Yeah, but you worked at some gyms too.
Right? I worked at some gyms. I did personal training for a little bit. I did diet programming for people. Really? I'm still heavily involved in fitness, but not like, as a profession anymore. I still work out every day. Nice. Actually, right before I got here, I went to the gym. Oh, nice. But I eat as well as I possibly can all the time. Yeah. I actually was in martial arts for about 7 or 8 years when I was younger. Taekwondo.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. I got a black belt finally. Did you? But after a while, like I said, I like the discipline aspect of it. I like the sparring, things like that. But it was the strictness behind it, I think, that was so cool, right? I also was like a huge fan of Bruce Lee growing up. I had like a collection of the VHS tapes. I even had some bullshit like, plastic nunchucks, right? I didn't really learn how to do the nunchucks, but I mean, like, I thought it was cool. Yeah. I thought it was cool. I watched Enter the Dragon with Chuck Norris and shit. What the hell was it? Fist of Fury.
Fist of Fury.
Yeah. But like, I mean, like, I was into that, Yeah. And then I discovered that Bruce Lee had a son, Brandon Lee. And oddly enough, I'm not a huge fan of comic book movies, but like The Crow was like probably that's like his son was in that movie. He's okay. But his son started that movie, and I found out that he was also a martial artist. Yeah. And then also I found out he died during the making of that movie, which was like super fucked up. So that was the first comic book movie that I ever was like, damn, this is cool, right? And I found out that he died during the making of the movie. My second favorite comic book movie that's ever come out was The Dark Knight, the Christopher Nolan, the 2008 one. And the reason why is, one, it was filmed in Chicago. That was cool, right? So I didn't actually go down there and see them film it, but I remember the day it came out. I remember seeing it in theaters with my mom and dad. Nice. And everyone in my family thinks it's still like probably the best Batman movie ever.
Is that your best Batman? I just had this conversation 100%. With my dad yesterday. That
100%, yeah.
Christian Bale's your Batman?
Yeah. But I didn't care for the the other two Batman films with him in it.
The Bane one? You didn't like that one?
He was not a fucking convincing villain to me.
What?
Like, his voice was cool,
Damn.
but I felt like actually, you know what? Here's the thing.
Now we can't be friends, bro.
No, here's the thing. Here's the thing, right? I'm not saying that it like. I thought that the movie, The Dark Knight, I thought it was the best non-comic book based comic book movie I've ever seen. Like, it felt like a real world movie, but also a comic book movie at the same time. Like, the cinematography was really cool, the story was cool, and then Heath Ledger, of course, like, he died in it, and that's the reason why I was talking about it, because like that was my second favorite comic book movie, you know, and I found out that then he died, but he died like right after the movie was done being filmed, which sucked. So I was like, okay, but as far as the storyline goes, I thought that was also like the best one. And I could watch that movie. That movie came out like, oh my God, that movie came out in 2008, so that's 14 years ago now, right? And I still think it's just as badass as the day I saw it.
Totally. I'm the same way. But I like all of them in that series for sure. The Bane one I'd put up there as one of my favorite Batman. Yeah.
See, I think what I almost would say the first Christian Bale one, what was that one called? The Dark Knight Rises, or was that?
Yeah, when it was like the story of how he went and fought with, that one was pretty good too.
Yeah. I almost like that. I would say the order in which I like the three are probably the second, the first, and then the third. Yeah.
What do you think of the new one with Twilight guy?
Oh God, Jesus Christ! You know, I can't. I never seen the film yet, and, but my folks did, and I've read so many reviews about it, and I know reviews can be biased, right?
Course.
But I've read a plethora of shitty reviews, and I've come to the conclusion that like I've watched trailers and shorts from the film, and it looks like it was filmed amazingly. You know what I mean? Like the cinematography and shit looks great. I can't buy the fact that this fucking vampire like emo and looking kid like is now Batman.
I don't want to spoil it, but I just watched it recently.
I'm gonna watch it. Go ahead.
Yeah, and
spoilers, guys.
Spoiler alert out there. But I really liked it, man. It was different. It's not your typical. But I didn't see the Joker, the one with Joaquin Phoenix. Did you see that one?
Oh yeah. That's a totally different movie though.
But they kind of related. It's similar in terms of I think it's more realistic. Like I'll give you an example. Like Batman's car was more realistic. His suit was more realistic. It was like younger Batman when he was first getting into it.
Yeah, it's actually supposed to be like a cross between I think the Michael Keaton Batman Batmobile and the original Batmobile at the same time because. Isn't it like a Charger?
It's
or like
a Charger.
Challenger
Yep, it's
like
one
that?
of the two. Yeah, it's either Charger or Challenger. Yeah, I'm not. I love cars, but I'm not that up on being able to tell you.
Much either. I think they look cool, but I couldn't tell you what's what.
It was a cool movie, man. I digged it. It was long. It's a long movie.
Oh, that's what I was told too. It was like Justice League long, right?
Yeah, I didn't. Is that the one with Aquaman and
that was with Aquaman, Superman,
and
Batman.
Yeah.
I love Ben Affleck films. That was the worst Ben Affleck film I've ever. It's not his film, right? But he was in it. That movie sucks some ass.
I didn't buy him as Batman. Yeah, that one. His Bruce Wayne character. I'm like, I can't get behind.
Nope. Yeah. No, and I think like okay, Ben Affleck has directed some amazing movies.
What's an example?
Argo, The Town.
Okay, yeah.
The Town is probably one of my top three.
That's a good movie.
Top 5 movies. Easy.
Yeah, that's a good movie. Yeah. Back to martial arts for a second, because I've had my buddy of mine that's been on 3 times. He owns American Top Team over in East Orlando.
Okay, that's cool. Yeah.
Second degree Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, world champion. He won it a couple different times, gi and no-gi. And I love martial artists, man. I think that mentality, one of the things that strikes me to it is most martial artists I meet, the fucking ego is in check. You know, that's something I'm trying to work on throughout my life as I get older, as we were mentioning. But something about their discipline and just their mental focus, man. And he teaches to his students a lot of different things about visualizing, and there's something to that from a mental standpoint. So what if you could learn, would you learn a new martial art? Or, you know, I know Taekwondo black belt, did you do any point sparring? I wanted to ask you that too when you mentioned it. No,
I
just
did not.
did a little bit of sparring.
Just a little,
yeah, okay. Are any martial arts speak to you now? I mean,
I like watching, like my girlfriend is really into boxing. I'm not into boxing that much, but I mean, I enjoy watching UFC fights every once in a while. I think the girls fight much better than the guys do.
Dude, the girls now, their level has gone through the roof.
I'd be more afraid to get into the cage with a girl in a UFC fight than I would a guy. Even though I don't know jack shit about like fighting in the UFC, they just seem a lot more intimidating because it's like I almost feel like it's deep down they probably feel like they have something to prove.
Sure.
It's kind of like the guy who grew up in high school that was super skinny his whole life, you know, and then he like, you know, he has like that Superman complex kind of thing. You know, I mean, like when I graduated high school, I was like 134 pounds.
Really?
And that's kind of like right towards the tail end of high school is when I decided to get into like working out and things like that. But I also saw the movie Pumping Iron with Arnold Schwarzenegger and Lou Ferrigno and all that stuff. And that's when I started to like the sport of bodybuilding. And then that's where the real fitness aspect opened up, because martial arts came before that.
Right.
And what's funny is like was never near close to the physical condition I am in now as to when I was doing martial arts.
Really?
Martial arts like taught me how to be disciplined. You know, I could do like the one-handed push-ups, the finger push-ups and all that shit, right? The flying side kicks, you know, break the balsa wood, you know.
Nice.
Yeah. But I mean, like that was cool and that was fun for a while. But I felt like after a while, unless I was able to find like a new group of people that like actually were interested in doing that along with me, I felt like me to practice that by myself, like, because I wasn't really interested in fighting or anything like that. I just thought it was cool.
Yeah.
You know,
I'm kind of in that same boat. I have no intentions of fighting anybody, but I do like the idea. I like boxing too, just for the idea. And a buddy of mine that's been on the show, he had 75 amateur fights, and before he was 18. And his dad is his
75.
trainer, a local Orlando pro. And then he's 6-0 now. He just fought on Jake Paul's he was the start of the main event on Jake Paul's card over in Tampa.
Oh, no shit.
If you know Jake Paul, the boxer, YouTuber. Yeah,
yes.
Yeah. Is that who your girlfriend watches? Or
no, no.
She's
no. My girlfriend she's Mexican, and they're really into boxing
Canelo
and stuff. Yeah, I'm sure. You know, she's told me so many damn names.
Oh, okay.
Dude, I'm not gonna lie to you. If you told me a boxer's name or a soccer player's name, I wouldn't know the fucking difference, because all I hear about, which again, I mean, like, I bombard her with fucking Magic, but she bombards me with soccer and with boxing, and I know she loves that shit, right? So I get to hear about it all the time, and I watch it way more than what I would, you know, without her.
Sure.
I mean, it's interesting to watch, and it's I think it's good. This all comes back to why it's good to know how to communicate with people. I mean, like, obviously she's my girlfriend, right? But I think it's also really important that going along with like talking to people and being open-minded, because just because I don't find as much interest in this area of expertise as you do doesn't mean that I shouldn't also like it's not worth my time to like give it a shot. You know what I mean? Because there might be something about it that I like really enjoy.
Right. Versus being shut off to it, you would never even have that opportunity.
Exactly.
Because
like, I mean, you know, I don't want to go through life not knowing what's going on around me.
Right.
You know, I don't need to, you know, learn. I don't need to actually like attempt any of these things, you know, because I know I would probably get my ass whooped, you know, and also I can't fuck this up, because like if I fuck my face up, I'm screwed.
That's the moneymaker.
Exactly, right? I mean, you know, promotion, you know, marketing, it's important. No one's gonna ever want to pick me up.
That's it.
But yeah, but like, I mean, like, I've learned a lot.
You'd have to change your all your logos and stuff with your face.
Well, that's why it's a cartoon character.
Oh, I did see the cartoon character one.
Yeah, that's the one that has the tag on it, the Honest Liar.
Okay, yeah, that's where I saw that. That looks good.
Yeah.
My favorite part in Pumping Iron was when Arnold Schwarzenegger was smoking weed. You remember that part?
Yes.
I was like, Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah, he's sitting there like wearing the T-shirt and says Arnold is numero uno.
Yeah.
Yep. That was like after the competition was over and they were like celebrating and shit, I think. Yeah.
I don't remember specifically. My takeaway from that movie is Arnold Schwarzenegger smokes weed. You know, that was my takeaway.
Do you smoke weed?
Oh yeah. I talk about it on the show pretty regularly. Do you smoke weed?
No, I've tried it a couple of times, but it's never stuck.
Didn't do it for you. Yeah.
Same thing with alcohol and stuff, man. Like, I'm very straight edge.
Yeah. You mentioned the no drinking at the party. I did 2.5 years no drinking. Took a nice break for it. My wife too. We're back on wine a little bit.
Was it like
food.
just a personal choice, or was it
health reasons? She was going through some stuff, so we needed to do elimination, and you know, like, well, let's do it together. You know, and honestly, you know, it was nice to take a break from just drinking. You know,
How much different? I mean, because I mean, like, I never did drink, so I mean, like, I'll have like one beer a month at most. You know, like, I'm very scarce with it.
Like, from a performance standpoint, like from a workout or just like your body standpoint, I didn't see too much of a difference, but where I did have the most difference was in sleep.
Really?
I was able to sleep much better. Not that I had a problem sleeping while I was drinking, but you know, you would wake up and you wouldn't, you know, especially if it was drinking the night before, obviously.
Yeah.
But honestly, it's helped with sleep the most. Like, I probably sleep like 9 hours a night now for the last 3 years or so.
Really?
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Yeah. I only I've been drunk one time my whole life.
Really?
Yeah, which is funny. I also never had a drink until I was like 23. 21st birthday?
I was 20. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I waited till I was 20. With drugs, too. I waited till I was 21
Really?
until I started smoking weed.
Yeah. I mean, I've tried a few things. I mean, like the last thing that I did, I mean, I've tried quite a few things. But, you know, I mean, like the last time I tried anything was I took shrooms, like not that long, probably about a year ago.
Okay. What'd you think of that?
I took them once before then, too. I can't fucking stop laughing, dude. I go into laugh attacks. And it was interesting because there was like 3 or 4 of us. And then there was a buddy of mine who basically decided he wasn't going to take any. The reason why is because you always want one person, I guess, that's like sobered up, right? Just in case someone goes fucking cuckoo or some shit. Yeah. And I just couldn't stop fucking laughing. And I guess I was so fucking goofed up. My buddy showed me a video of it like far later, but his roommate had a dog, and the dog was in the cage, dude. And I was literally laying down on the ground next to the dog cage, and I was playing fucking cards with the dog. And I was like yelling at the dog and shit. It's on my old phone, but I'll send you the video later. But literally, I'm like pissed at the dog, and I'm like, she's fucking holding out, and I was like literally bitching at the dog. And I was like, and I don't remember that shit. And your buddy was filming. And he sends it to me the next day. But it was weird, though, because it's one of those things where it's like, it hits me super hard. And then all of a sudden, it's like, it's either I feel it completely or I don't feel it at all. Yeah. And then like 4 hours later, it was like nothing ever happened, you know? Yeah. But I never got the urge to do it again, you know?
I waited till I was 31, maybe 32. I'm 34 now, and I've done it 3 times. Shrooms. Yeah.
Do you remember how much you took or what kind of?
Yep. Started with a gram, and then went to 2, and then the last round I think I did 6. And I'll take
1, 2, and 6.
Yeah,
huh?
yeah. My buddy that's been on the show.
Did 3.
3 grams,
and it was like without penis envy, some weird shit.
Penis envy.
That's literally the type of shroom it is.
I haven't heard of that.
I know it's supposedly really fucking strong. I was really hesitant about putting something called penis envy in my mouth, but I was like, fuck, man. I'm like, you know, I mean, like, I know we're all friends here, but you know, I don't know what this is.
Yeah, I trust you though. Give me some of that penis envy.
It was like it was a Dixie cup, and it was like I put a little bit of lemon juice in there, and I was like, because it was bitter, I guess, you know. Yeah. And about 45 minutes in, my buddy was just like, Steve, you feel? I'm like, yo, Trent, I'm feeling good. And he wasn't even asking me anymore. And I would just tell him periodically, Trent, I'm feeling really good. And I was just sitting there on the couch, and he's like, Steve, that's nice. I didn't ask you, though. And I didn't realize it. And I was also watching I was watching parkour. Like people jumping across buildings and shit. And I don't know why, but like, I mean, everyone else is in the other room looking at tapestry and shit, like, you know, doing this, like spacing out. And I'm watching people jump buildings and shit.
Oh my, that would freak me out.
Well, at least I didn't like get the urge to go jump off the balcony or
to go do it. Right? I try to tell people this, like you do have control. You know, it's not like alcohol. Like you've only been drunk one time, but you can lose control on alcohol. People do all the time.
I've seen it.
Yeah, it happens all the time. You know, shrooms. I mean, maybe there's a level where you shouldn't be driving. You know, but you're within control and you can bring it back. What it did for me, and I've said this before, but it opened up something in my brain that I didn't know I wasn't using. You know, and I do it all outside. I do it as like, you know, kind of like an experience where I want to, you know, get something out of it. And that's what my buddy told me. He's got a doctor now in mental health, and he's treated people with psilocybin because now they're using it as, you know, ways to help people with some of the mental illnesses and things that they have going on, helping them get through PTSD and stuff.
I was going to say, there's war veterans that take like low doses.
Exactly. Yeah. And so if you do it with, in my opinion, and this was what his perspective was on it after treating a bunch of people through it, is he's like, you know, come in there with a purpose, you know, something you try to figure out. And I say this, but I used to have a hard time thinking love was a real thing. I used to challenge that.
Really?
Like, is that, and from somebody that's had it, you know, in abundance my whole life from my family and friends and stuff like that. So I'm like,
say, how many wives do you have, Steve?
I only got one, you know, but it's not like I didn't have love. But when I took it the first time, I realized, okay, it is a real thing. Like, you know, and if that's illegal, like, what the fuck? Like, why is that an illegal thing in the comfort of my own home?
I mean, but it's like anything else, though. I mean, like, if you use it responsibly, you know, I mean, there are a lot of people out there that get cards, right? And they don't need, all they do is they get because they want to get high out of their mind.
100%.
And I'm like, you know, if you just stay in your house and you want to get baked, you know, I mean, I'm not going to stop you. Right. But I think, again, though, it kind of takes away from the people that actually might be trying to use it for like a true purpose. Yeah. Right. And I think that's also what gives it like that negative view, you know, because like I know damn good and well there's some people out there that take it, you know, with a purpose and that actually does something positive for them, but it's not just to get high.
Right.
And that's why I think a lot of like people have like a really like negative perception on it.
Yeah.
But I will say that, I mean, I'm a little bit, you know, I mean, I'm guilty of it. You know, I mean, I'll sit there and say that, like, I mean, high people annoy the shit out of me because they're gone. They're checked out. And every once in a while, I could see people doing it, you know, and people ask me all the time, like, Steve, like, why don't you do it? Because I think they just assume, like, he's an entertainer, he's an artist, he must do something, right? Especially with the shit that comes out of my mouth. They think, like, he has to have done something. I'm like, no, dude, like, I'm just, like, the reason why I'm able to do this is because, like, I'm fully aware, you know, and I like to be as, you know, conscious as possible in what I'm doing. To each its own, but I mean, like, you know, people that are just fried. Yeah. I can't do it.
There's levels, right? If you're awakening and baking every day, I've been there, you know, where that's, you know, when you're younger and you feel like that's what you should be doing. But to your point, it's not for everybody. But I think personally, it helps me get to a different level of consciousness. It helps me, and maybe I need it as a crutch or whatever the case may be, but and that's been going on for a really long time. I mean, generations of people have been utilizing this stuff. I think my problem is I don't think it should be illegal, you know. And if you go back to the reasons why it is illegal, you know, it all usually comes back to money, right? Yeah. And it's very easy, very accessible. It can grow freaking anywhere. That's why it's called a weed, right? I think it goes back to what we were talking about earlier is, you know, the government wants that control for whether it's for making money or for, you know, whatever it is. But in the comfort of your own home, you know, I don't know if people should be able to tell you what you can and can't do. You can make the argument people shouldn't be driving cars. They shouldn't be,
of course,
you know,
because you could be endangering other people.
Exactly. You don't want to put other people in danger. But I kind of subscribe to, I think everything should be legal. Now, people do ruin their lives on stuff as well. So there needs to be ways to manage that.
So you have like a libertarian mindset almost.
I don't know. I'm not super political to know if it is libertarian political, but you know, I don't know.
It's more so. I think, like, I mean, I'm no expert on it, okay, but I would say it's more so just the idea that people can make their own decisions, but you know, they have to also sit there and say like the consequences, whether it's good or bad. I mean, it's fully on them. Yes. You know,
own them, weigh out the consequences, and if you can live with that, then the choice should be yours. Yeah. But I do think if it was legal, and you know, I've never done coke, I never will. But
I've tried it once.
Yeah, I hear
it's not worth it.
Yeah, I mean, to some people, I hear it's amazing. You know, I'm sure
it's
for certain circumstances. But the fear for me would be fentanyl. You know, like that would be the fear. That. But a lot of things with cocaine is getting laced with that. It seems like, you know, and or it's in there, it's cut with it, or you know, whatever the media is trying to push towards that aspect. But I think if it was legal, wants us to perceive. Yeah, if it was legal, I think maybe people would feel more comfortable going to get it tested, go to get it checked. One thing the medical marijuana community did, which is be able to make it regulated. You know what you're getting, you know how much it is, you know where it's coming from, you know what to expect. Yeah. And this whole war on drugs that started in the 80s or whatever, it's not working. You know, the money it's spent on it, you know, maybe that could be relocated to other places, but not to get political. But that's my take on it anyways.
Yeah. Personal responsibility is an important thing. Yeah. I don't know. People need to learn how to own up to their fuck ups. Sure. You know? Yeah. And it's like, because people have no problem bashing everyone else for the problems or the mistakes, I should say, that they make, right?
That's the easy way to do it.
The moment that they do something wrong, they have to find a way to make it okay. And I don't mean they try to turn it around and make it good. They just sit there and try to basically rationalize it. Right. You know?
Yeah. In their own head.
Exactly. Which, I mean, that only works for so long.
Right.
You know? I mean, people after a while, I think they're going to break down. And they're going to realize that, you know, they need to fucking get on track. You know? Because otherwise, before you know it, I mean, like, kind of like you said, like we said earlier, right? We don't know how long our future is. Right. Right? So if we're this fucked up today, and if we do the same thing tomorrow as we just did today, can you imagine from a year from now how much more fucked up we're going to be? Right. You know? I mean, I'm always like, I'm not religious. I mean, I would say spiritual, I guess, if you had to put something on it, right? Yeah. But me and my girlfriend, we always do this thing. She's going to hear me say this and go, oh, that's so nice, right? But like, you ever hear like the whole, like, you know, it's not superstitious, but like the whole 11/11 thing, make a wish? No. Neither did I until she fucking told me about it. Yeah. But It's like 11:11, whether it's in the morning or in the evening or whatever.
Oh, the
it's
time
like
11:11.
Yeah, I guess it's like the two numbers are in sync or some shit like that, right? Well, it's like, but like the biggest thing I always say is it's like, again, it sounds like I'm praying, but I have no idea who the hell I'm talking to, right? But I just say, thanks for letting me wake up today. Thanks for letting me pursue what it is I think I should be doing in this life, right? Thanks for the support, and let me wake up tomorrow and let me be 1% better tomorrow than I was today.
Interesting.
And I know that sounds a little bit, you say interesting, right? But like I go like, well, what happens after 100 days?
Yeah.
And he goes like, but it's like, I don't care if I get to 100%. I want to exceed that,
Right. No, I think it's interesting because that approach could probably change your mindset as well. If you're doing that consistently, like anything, the more you keep doing
it's like diet, it's like working out, it's like anything else. It becomes habit.
Yeah. And then it's easy to stick to. And if it's giving you impact, positively, which sounds like saying that, on the regular would probably do.
And it does. It does. I'm not going to lie. Before I ever met the girl that I'm with now, I met her back in 2021. It was October 31st. We like went to like a Halloween party, and actually we met a few days before that, but she invited me to a Halloween party. But she is she's a spiritual kind of a person, right? She's not a fucking hippie, right? But she's into the whole like stones and all that shit. You know what I mean? That's why I have this thing.
Yeah.
Right. I also have this, right? But like I couldn't tell you what all this shit means, Yeah. This is like lapis lazuli or some shit like that, or blue kyanite. I forget the hell the name of it, right? But like, I guess these things have energy, so to speak, right?
Yeah.
But I think it's like anything else. It's like, if I believe this does something for me, it's going to do something for me. I'm not going to say it's a placebo effect per se, right? But everyone has their thing. Right.
And that's what I was just going to say. The power of people's minds, medicine is clear case in point with the placebo effect and stuff. Man, if you believe it to be true, not everything, you're not going to believe that you're going to fly out of here or whatever. But certain things, man, your mind can control more of people's body than I think they give it credit for. And that's part of my journey. What I'm trying to figure out is that old adage of your mind is your most powerful weapon. Like, okay, well, let's talk to people. Let's explore that. And let's see if we can't do that over the next 20, 30 years or whatever the case may be.
Yeah, so. And I think that people that really don't... I think there's a lot of... Let me reword this. I think that there's a lot of people out there that really don't know who they are, but they think they know what they want to be. And if you don't know who you are, how could you possibly know what you want to be?
Sure.
That sounds a bit deep or whatever the fuck, but
we get deep on here, man.
I know
we haven't cried yet. Sometimes people cry on these
it's
things,
okay. It's okay. All right.
It's a safe room.
Don't be a puss. Don't do it.
Hey, man.
If I cry, we had to edit that out.
We got to cut that. That's the cut.
That's the cut.
We got to cut
everything
that.
else I don't give a shit about. You cut that.
Yeah.
No, but no. Back to what I was saying though about the whole relationship that I'm in now, right? Like I was a very narrow-minded, one-track person, and I'm not saying that I still am not narrow-minded to a sense, right? But I feel like she's definitely opened up like a new like way of thinking for me.
Yeah.
Right. Like for example, she's the most like positive fucking person I've ever met in my life. Like she's optimistic as fuck.
Nice.
Right. And there's been ups and there's been downs, but like, she sees how I am. Right. And she wants to be a social worker. Right. That's what she's going to school for. And she knows there's not a whole lot of money involved in that, but she genuinely cares about people and she wants to help people. Right. And she like learns about human interaction, like levels of psychology and studies and stuff that have been conducted. And it's funny because she goes to my shows and she sees what I do and all this, and she knows damn good and well what I'm doing is like, it's fucking trickery, bro.
Yeah.
I mean, like it's sneaky shit, right? Yeah. But like it's under the guise of everything else. Like what people believe to be true and what people know to be true. It's like, it's regardless if that I am an entertainer, you perceive it as being something more than what it is, and it works out in my favor, and that's cool.
Right.
But back to what I was saying about what she's learning, right? So she learns about psychology, human interaction, all these other things, and I think we actually like learn every now and then. I'll say like, oh, like what are you guys talking about, right? And she'd be like, oh, it's interesting, right? Because like we brought up this topic, right? And then she was like, I actually told them about this thing that you told me, right? And it was, just something in regards to like body language or wherever the hell the case may be, right? And it's funny because like who the hell would think that like a magician would be able to offer something like, useful to someone that's a social worker, you know what I mean?
Unless you're in
vice
the
versa,
know.
or vice versa, right?
Right.
Because I think that it all boils down to she's in school, right? And I personally, I went to college for about a month, and I said, "Fuck this! I can't do this." I said, I can't repeat high school again, right? Because the reason why I went to college is because I was like, my parents were like, "You got to go at least go to a community college, right? You got to figure something out." So I was working at McDonald's at the time, and I went there to appease them, right? I was just like, "Oh, I'm gonna go." And really interestingly, I took a class literally called College 101. And I was like, this is a tacky ass class, but okay. And they played this video on the screen. They're like, listen, you guys can leave or you can stay. When the bell rings, it's up to you, right? And this guy came out, and his name was Les Brown. And Les Brown is like one of the world's like most renowned motivational speakers ever, right? And I knew for a fact that, like, again, I would always do magic as, like, you know, a hardcore hobby. But deep down, like, even when I was little up until I was in my teens and now where I'm at now, 27, I was like, you know, I really want to fucking be a magician, right? But I know that going to college is not going to fucking help me with this whatsoever. The only thing that would help me with is maybe a fallback, right? Or a plan B. And I'm not a believer in plan B. You know what I mean? I'm not a believer in that because I feel like if I even give anything attention other than what it is I'm striving to do,
it's taking away from what you're striving to do.
Yeah. So plan B is just not an option for me. You know what I mean? Like, well, in other aspects it is, but not for that, right? So let's just put it that way, right?
The no kids aspect.
Exactly. Yeah, that part of it, right? You know, I'm not like, you know, I'm not going to buy stock in it or anything, but, you know, but yeah, so like long story short, this video is playing, and one of the quotes that sticks out to me forever is like, someone's opinion of you does not need to become your reality. And I realized that, like, you know, I'm going to have a lot of people, and I'm not, you know, like some rare individual, right? But there's going to be a lot of people that tell you that you should not or you cannot do something. And I was like, you know what? If I'm going to do this, I'm going to fucking do this. Yeah. So I stuck with the fitness thing for a while, and again, still doing magic on and off. And I was in high school. When I was in high school, man, holy shit. It was like a fucking magic show every day in the lunchroom, right? And it came to a point, no matter where I was or what I was doing, even when I was working in a personal training studio or if I was working at a corporate gym for UFit, right? It was like I was always sneaking magic in. It never fucking failed, right? But all those jobs, like in the corporate world, right? Like when it comes to like, you know, selling people on gym memberships and all these other things, like I took classes on how to sit people down and sell them things and things of that sort. But I realized that my perspective and my style of talking to people never aligned with what was being taught. Because I felt like everyone was being taught from a very textbook-like perspective. Sure. And I was like, you know what? Anyone that knows that they're being sold something doesn't really doesn't want to get sold on something.
You kind of stop listening or stop paying attention.
Even if they come into your building and your place of work, if they feel like that they're being sold something, you don't really care what it is that they're saying, they're not going to fucking care. And they know they can go anywhere. Right. And I had arguments with my like bosses and my higher ups like all the time. And I remember one time very distinctly, the regional or the district manager came in. His name was Mark. I hate that son of a bitch. I wish I knew his last name so I could say it right
Shout out, Mark.
Yeah, right? Mark, what's up? He's never going to see this shit, but that's okay. It's all right.
It would be funny, though.
Yeah, it would be. It would be great, right? But he came in and he was doing a check on everyone that was in the sales, like, you know, area, right? It was like, you know, we had people that like were obviously like, you know, janitors that would clean the floors, right? And then we had people that were